Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today on the Transform Your Future podcast. I've been looking forward to this. We've been chatting back and forth. Let's kind of jump right in. I know I definitely want to focus on your book. As a writer and somebody who's working on a book now, I'm always like to talk to other writers and see what they did and how they came up with things and what drove them to finish it, which is a big thing, obviously. So let's jump right in and let's talk about Embrace Your Power of Healing Journal.
A healing journal of self-discovery. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a journaling style book that really takes you on a heart's pilgrimage to rediscover your heart's desire, because there's so much noise, and so much that can dispirit us throughout our lives. I know it's very true for me and so many of the people that I've worked with. There's just all these barriers and all these different voices, about trying to discover who you need to be and what you need to be doing. So embracing your power is really coming back and remembering who you are. So all of that, after all that dismemberment, from outside forces, start to remember, resource yourself. And there's journaling prompts in there to help you do that, and some teachings and some personal stories and reflection as well. Some little quotes, to keep you inspired throughout the book. It's a pretty short book, I think it's like 120 pages. It's something I wrote 10 years ago. Well, actually, you know what, Eddie? This actually started when I was 10 and I published it 30 years after that. And it's been around for 10 years now. So I get what you're saying about actually finishing the book.
Right? Well, because, people tend to sometimes have, ideas and they have some desires, but whether it's a book or a project or whatever, actually just completing it is a big deal. And if you could do that's like a big win, right?
Yes.
And of course, we could break it down into little pieces and have a lot of little wins along the way. But as long as we're working towards that, there's so many people I talked to who had ideas or started something or wanted to start something, started planning something, but they never actually started doing it and, actually just doing it, Yeah, so, absolutely.
And you mentioned the word
deal.
Win. It is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And it came out because someone asked for it. And, I just want to make a comment about win, because it's so profound to think of win as what's important now, as an acronym. And again, that really just brings you back, right to the present moment, because we're not so present anymore, especially in this moment, And so if you want to win, think about what's important now.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying 100%. I love it. I have some everybody has at their core, maybe, some personality traits that's really just part of who they are. For me, I've always had this weird thing that doesn't seem to make sense when you look at it, but it just happens to be me, which is I have this real creative, kind of personality that I'm always, thinking of things and want to design things and make things. And, I love the active creation, and, I have to have lots of projects that I'm working on, and I take them down, I look with them and play, and I love it, right? But at the same time, I'm into sales and, winning and, closing deals and, talking to people and doing that. And it just seems like, all my life, people like that just seems like two different things, but somehow it works all together for me. And I think my biggest challenge is that I have, when we're talking about this now, you're really kind of like bringing me down here to the present moment. And I'm just thinking sometimes where I struggle is I get so wrapped up in the doing and, the tasks and getting things done and keeping the greased wheels going, that I forget about really at the core what's really important. Because when I think about that, I have everything that I possibly could want. I've done everything I could possibly do, and I love my life right now exactly the way it is. And, remembering that all the time is important, because I can get frustrated when I'm just task, and focusing on doing, and I forget about being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And here's the thing, Eddie, it's the being that prompts the doing that gives you the having. and this is why it's so important to always come back to who you're being. And I think you bring up a really good point. You talked about like there's this creative Eddie and there's this competitive, salesy kind of Eddie, but they're all you, right? And this is the thing, we get caught up in like one thing that we're supposed to be, and we're not. That's not human nature,
Right.
We're multisensory beings having multidimensional lives, and there's so many aspects of ourselves that we're continuously discovering and getting excited about and curious about and want to explore. And there's also parts of us that might actually feel like it's dying. So there's like this very dynamic personal evolution that's happening. And you're all of those things. You're creative, you're salesy, you're, multitasker, you're
Father,
visionary.
son,
inspired.
husband,
all of those different roles.
Things,
all of that. And they're just various aspects of yourself and ways of expressing who you truly are, and what I really discovered for myself too, and I share this with people all the time now, is about passion and having that passion. And when you're doing what you love, and it actually takes a lot of courage to do what you're passionate about. But here's how I look at passion, because when you break up that word, there's a directive there. It's pass I on. And that I is your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. So that I is your potency. That's your spirit. That's your unique energy imprint. It's the thing that impacts and influences other people because it's what they remember about you. And so the passion's not just a feeling, it's actually a calling.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to go into that and like unpack that a little bit, because
Sure.
I think you're right. That's very important. The other thing I wanted to mention was when you were talking about all the noise in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I feel like somebody has hijacked my brain and I'm all of a sudden going in this whole other direction. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why am I doing this really? Because somebody said this is what people like me should do. I'm like, how does this really fit into me and my life and my goals and what I'm doing?
Yes.
And sometimes because there's so much noise of all these different things trying to influence you, like you forget, like you already have a path, like you've already made some decisions about directions you're going in. So so we need a practice like what we're talking about, so we can stay focused on what's really driving the bus, right? What's really going. So when we talk about passion, like I find it somewhat confusing. Really. Okay. And the reason it's confusing is because you have a lot of different people talking about passion and purpose, talents and skills. And there's just so much, talk about all this stuff that it's kind of confusing at a point. So when you're talking about passion, what are we talking about? We're talking about what drives me, what I get enjoyment out of in life, what things give me energy. What are we talking about?
We're talking about your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. So it's your whole energy and being. So we mentioned earlier how it's the being that prompts the doing, that gives you the having. So it's who you came here to be, and then do what you came here to do, and then get remembered for it, after you leave this life. It's like, what kind of imprint are you leaving? I've gone through countless, actually, like a ridiculous amount of funerals and wakes and celebrations of life for family and friends that have passed on, and a lot of other types of loss that have experienced. And when you've gone through that, you just get down to what's really important, what matters, and realize, how time's not a renewable resource, that it's very precious. And so how we direct our time and energy is really important. You mentioned about the noise, and, you can think about your computer, or like everybody being on the computers all the time, and how that's creating so much noise and draining. When you're plugged into so many different things, you get overloaded, right? You get overwhelmed, you get overloaded, you can't think straight. Like you say, you get hijacked, right? And it's true, because energetically you're getting hooked into different things all the time, and that's pulling your time and your energy and your focus and all of those things. You become depleted. like say how important it is for us to stay centered, to stay on our personal mission, to stay on course. It requires a lot of downtime. And that's often misunderstood. People feel very uncomfortable in that space. They're like, I have to be doing something, or you start feeling guilty about it. But when we're not engaging in what I call soul care, then there's increased conflicts. You're reacting to life instead of embodying it. You become numb. You feel exhausted. Mm. All of the mental ailments as well come into play, and it's self-perpetuating that you're not good enough or you're not doing enough. And we talk about how we want like health and wellness, but then we're prioritizing productivity and performance, and getting into this place of having to impress rather than connect, and operating like out of desperation instead of inspiration, or wanting to start controlling everything instead of being in that creative mode. So all of those things to say that we can simplify all of it through identifying who it is that you came here to be and what you came here to do. And that's how I talk about passion. Mm-hmm. Like when you break up that word, it's pass I on. That I being your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. So getting really down deep into who you truly are, what your whole purpose is in this lifetime isn't one thing at all. Mm-hmm. The only purpose we have is to have this human life and to fulfill our mission for being here, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe we just have one purpose. We have multiple purposes. Just like anything. Like I have a little short on my YouTube channel where I talk about this little plate that I was using for a cookie. And my sister was kind of upset. She's like, oh, that's for putting your tea bags on. I'm like, is that the only purpose for this little tiny plate, right? And I got inspired by that. I'm like, nah, actually, this is a good point. Like, is the one thing or the one person only meant for one purpose? I don't believe that. No, I don't think so.
I like that. So how can you help somebody? Like, I know I talk to a lot of people, and they're like unsure, what it is. It's probably not that important to actually know it, except to work towards it to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the thing is how can we help somebody to kind of focus in and figure out what their soul's purpose what is it that's their talent that they bring on? What is that thing that drives them?
Yeah, it's not about figuring it out, actually. It's not a mental process at all. It's not conceptual. It is already who you are, right? Outside of all of that noise. It's remembering that and activating that part of you that knows that, right? So the way I would facilitate that is helping people in remembering that you are meant for this world. Because when you stop believing that or don't realize that, then you're going to start operating out of fog. And I love words. So this is what I got for you for fog. Fear, obligation, and guilt. And we all know trying to manage our way through the fog, we're kind of going slow. It's almost like a lethargic energy. We can't really see. Everything's obscure. It feels dense. It feels heavy. It makes us wonder, like, if there's any light out there, and if you're in that place, it's because you've forgotten, who you truly are and what you were excited and passionate about, like when you were a child, for example, and what you love to do, and you tried to figure out your place in this world by fulfilling other obligations out of guilt or fear for not having someone's approval, whether that be a family member, a spouse, a boss, or, your church leader, anybody. You fear that judgment. That you have to live up to someone else's standards and expectations.
Yes.
Right. So, facilitating and remembering, understanding that you are meant for this world. that you and only you can be who you are and do what you do. You know, like there could be like a million other salespeople out there, Eddie, but no one does it the way you do, because your soul is being expressed through that role that you take on. And so is everyone else's, right? It's who they are. And if they want to do it out of productivity and performance, they're in a different place with that. I remember hearing, just to share another example of how we can impact people no matter what role we take on. And it's more about who you are in that role than the role itself. And I remember hearing a story from Jack Canfield. And he was talking about Johnny the bagger. You know, this guy's at the end of the grocery line bagging groceries. Yeah. You know, you're in the grocery store. People just want to get in and out, or they're nowadays ordering online. This is an old story, a few decades old. So, you know, pre-internet, right? And he's talking about this guy, Johnny, is putting affirmations in people's grocery bags. And then people start lining up in his grocery aisle because they want this affirmation. Yeah. I mean, it's a simple little thing, but people are thirsty for this, for that affirmation, for the approval, for the knowing that we are safe and okay as who we are. You know, we want that. We're thirsty for those affirmations. And so people are lined up for this. So that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is this Johnny the bagger guy. He's just bagging groceries, most mundane job in the world, right? But look at the impact and the influence he's having, this following that he's creating, because he's sharing his love through that. Yeah. He's sharing, you know, his messages. And it's amazing how we can express ourselves no matter what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, people are great. I love people. I need people. I get energy from other people, and like it's an important part. Ever since I was a kid, like I always like being around people and talking about ideas and things. It like feeds my soul. It feeds my soul.
Yeah.
So tell me, in the book, what are some of the key parts of the book?
It's a good question. Ideas. It's been a long time since I read it. Some of the key ideas is really just looking into, like, it really comes from you. So the questions are there to facilitate your own reflections and mirroring back to yourself, your vision, dreams, your personal desires, your, you know, wish for the world sort of thing, the wish for your life. You know, so the questions really support that. And then the affirmations are there to kind of, you know, keep you inspired, to move you along in the journey. There's a new book that's coming out, and so that's more in my mind right now and more up there. It's a multi-author book, so I'm one of 22 authors in this book of The Ultimate Guide to Leaving a Legacy. And so I have a chapter in there, chapter 5, which is coming out in the fall of 2024. Is about, you know, leading with passion, like I've been talking about it, but lighting the path to profound impact and collective transformation. And so I really talk about my story and then what the lesson was through that and the different steps and discoveries that I made for staying aligned with your personal mission, you know. And so some of the things I talk about in that one is about being a living legacy, you know, and you can make your life a living prayer. So it's not, you know, what happens after you die. It's about how you're living your life now and the kind of impact you can have. And I talk about collective transformation because I feel it's not so much about our individual missions anymore. It's really about our collective mission, coming together more and more, building community, cultivating community and experiences, and, you know, establishing unity. We're at a time in our planet where there's so much diversity. And so it'd be amazing if we could draw on the strengths of that, right? And really build something so powerful that can be so exceptional for uplifting humanity. So I talk about, you know, aligning with that that you're here to pass on, your soul's expression, harnessing that passion and purpose, coming into alignment with your values. To be of value, you need to actually be living your values and be in alignment with that, you know, like I see teams and organizations and places that I've worked in the past when I was in my career life. They had mission statements, they had purpose statements, they might have their values and pillars. They'd stick it up on the wall or put it in their drawer, and then that's it. It's just there when they establish the company or the organization. But how much do they live that? We forget that as a team, as an organization, as a business, as a person, as an entrepreneur, So it's great to learn how to be intentional and conscious of the choices we're making, what kind of movement we're creating through that, and being able to understand that balance, because people are talking about work-life balance all the time and how to find that. Balance actually comes from living your truth. So any question that you ask, I'll keep coming back to being in your truth, living your truth, being in alignment and harmonizing all aspects of who you are, and really standing strong in your convictions of who you are as well. Shining your light. We hear that a lot. And it's not just a catch-all phrase. It's another acronym for living in God's highest truth. And it's God of your understanding, right? It's just to imply that we're cultivating and integrating, because it's such a time of integration right now, a higher consciousness model of living. So not being just on autopilot anymore, living up to standards and expectations. A lot of people are resisting that now. We see all the protests going on. We see the social justice movements. We see more and more people getting in entrepreneurship because we're moving out of a product-driven economy into a purpose-driven economy. And that's great to see. So it really comes back to, okay, who are you and why are you here? And what are you going to do about it, this human life, And so, I think I rambled on there for a bit. So let me know if you want to clarify or comment on anything.
No, I've been with you the whole time, and
Thank you.
I love it. I think it's so important. It's just the right time that you're talking to me right now, because my head has been all over the place the last couple of days, and I feel like my spirit, is like 20 feet behind me, and I sit down, it takes a minute for my spirit to reach me because I've been going faster than it. And I like it because at the core, I have important things about me that I want to share and express. And that's really it. As long as I do that in all things, everything else is whatever, right? I don't control the universe, so I just show up and, be myself and live my choice, live my truth, like you said. I love it. I mean, I work with people sometimes, and, they my work is a lot about reinvention and identity and how we choose and these things. And there's a lot of things that go on where a person might have this vision for themselves of this role that they want to try, something new that they want to do that they've never done before. They've never had any socialization around it. So nobody else encouraged them or discouraged them or whatever. And they have this idea of doing this new thing, but they have this enormous fear because they never done that before. And they get this thing of thinking, maybe I'm a fake, maybe I'm no good, maybe I'm not good enough. And, I always say, it's you. It's just be yourself doing this other thing. Don't worry about all those other things you're talking about, because at the end of the day, no matter what anybody does, you are who you are. You are who you're meant to be. You were made that way, and there's a purpose to it. So just do that thing, and leave the results up to the universe.
Absolutely, yeah. And you're the creator, right? You're creating who you are, and you're creating your whole life around that, creating all the conditions that support whether you're going to thrive or not. That's all you, man. That's all you. And you reminded me when you talked about reinventing. I used to have this little quote pillow thing that I had on my doorknob, and it was from Maya Angelou, which was a woman who can reinvent herself daily, show sublime creativity. We're always reinventing ourselves. We're always creating. And that's a really good thing, because life is dynamic. We're meant to be doing it in that way, for sure.
Yeah, and it all, in some ways, for me personally, it ties all back to this creativity that I have inside of me. And it's like, I've always felt that my life is my greatest creation. And, I'm constantly looking at it and saying, oh, what about this? And if we went around these edges this way and let's try these colors, and, just
how does this
playing
go
with
together?
that, getting it to this place where I'm like, oh my God, like this is the best possible life,
Yes.
It just had the energy of it. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It's our energy and our passion that has the greatest impact for visionaries, especially,
Yes.
And that's just it. So, the tangible things are, okay, so how do we keep the energy and the passion alive?
Yes. And not let it get snuffed out by the noise or the expectations of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right. And like you say, you just got to do it, right? Not give in to the fear, or, they say fear less, or feel the fear and do it anyway. But it's like a quote from Vincent van Gogh where he said, if you hear a voice inside your head that says you're not a painter, then by all means paint. And that voice will be silence.
I love that. Right? I didn't know that.
Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Then that voice will be silence, because you're doing it.
That's a great quote. So, I just was thinking that, anyway, I lost the thought. So let me ask you this.
All right.
Edit that out. Can we edit that out? Okay.
You can edit that out.
Thank you. So I know you also have a blog that you post, right? And you get published. Is this the theme of what you normally write about?
Yeah, I write about whatever comes, kind of like those channeled inspirations.
Yes.
And it's all about, mostly personal development, but also about conscious leadership as well. And I'm just thinking about the different things that I've written about. Yeah, it's all about that. It's all about spiritual wellness, personal development, being who you are, like really redefining, your passion and purpose, and just really bringing out the best in you. It's called the Inspired Living blog, and it is that for a reason, right? It's about
I want to check it out for sure.
Yeah, it's about like taking inspired action. Being patient enough for the inspiration to come and then moving with that. It's amazing things can happen through inspired action. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, going back to, this idea, I have a practice of meditation. I've been working and practicing spirituality for 36 years. I read a lot of books about it and I talk to people about it and I practice it. But even though I do all that, I still need to do more. I feel like I still need more inspiration in my life in this regard, because a lot of my life is, business related and dealing with business stuff and tasks and, helping people how to do this and how to do that and solving needs, and pain points. But I think the inspiration is something that's needed much more in daily, because I know that everything I need is already been installed inside of me. And I just need to tap into it, And sometimes I think that the most challenging times for me is when I'm not sure what direction to go to, or maybe not sure if this is the right thing that I'm doing. I'm getting friction and, obstacles coming up. So maybe this is the wrong way and I need to go to the left, and I look for, intuition and, my tap into my consciousness to kind of listen and hear something that's going to help me to move forward. And, the only way that can happen, I think, is if I keep more than just whatever meditation practice that I have. I need more stuff to have that feed my mind, the inspirational, stuff about the simplicity of it all.
Yeah. And, I heard you say the word need several times, and there's two things I'd like to just offer around that. And that is I think it's good to be aware of the energy behind the words. Because when we say need, sometimes we'd be pulling ourselves down, right? As if we don't have something already, or that it's something we have to do, and then we're into that fog space, right? The fear, obligation,
and guilt.
You're
right. Whereas
That's
exactly how I felt.
Whereas if we switch that up a little bit and say, I would love to have more inspiring content in my life or more inspiration in my life.
Yes.
I'd like to have inspiration. I call in, like the teachers, the resources that inspire me, bring it in. And then you're like opening yourself up to that. You're putting yourself in a readiness to accept that rather than feeling like there's something you have to do to go get it,
Yes.
And the other thing about need that I just like to say a little bit about is that, that honor your needs. I mean, it's so amazing, Eddie, that you know what your needs are, because a lot of us don't. So once you identify what your needs are, find a way to honor that. And most importantly, don't ever break a promise to yourself. Because that will destroy your whole sense of being in an instant.
That's right.
Yeah. Because then
I love the way I love the way we focused in on the words and you switch those words around to love or like, which changes the whole energy of the statement. That's really a great insight. I love that. Thank you for that. So I remember one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and that was that years ago I worked on a book that was about seniors living in nursing homes, that really, like, the nursing home is a social community, and there's a whole life that goes on in there in this social community that's in there. And so I worked, and for a year I visited for 10 hours a week several of the people who live there over time to get to know them and learn about them and a little bit about their biographies. And I took a bunch of photos and did a bunch of artwork for the book. But Bessie Lashinsky, who has passed on, she said some profound things to me that changed a lot of my thinking. But what she said was that essentially, I'm just going to nutshell that whatever she went through and whatever fears she had and whatever challenges happened, she kind of resented it, that these things happened the way they happened, and she felt that she suffered. But now that she's 96 years old, she realized that was all just a waste, and that, she had the son out of wedlock, and at the time this was a taboo thing, and she wouldn't have got a career and a career advancement if everybody would have known. So she had this elaborate life where she hid the fact that she had a son from everybody so nobody would know. And she kind of resented the fact that she had to deal with this and hide and have kind of a small life that way. But she said now that she has such a great relationship with her son and her grandkids, she said, Jesus, now that that I know all this, I should have had 10. I would have had 10. I wouldn't have fighted it. You know what I'm saying? And that changed my whole mindset about everything, to understand that, the really important things are about our relationships with the other people that are close in our life. And that's what we really need to honor and focus. When people are at the end of their lives, they don't regret that they didn't take a job or launch a career or make a lot of money. They regret being close to the people that they love the most, that love them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people that they've left behind also start considering that too. Is like, oh, I wish I had more time with them before they died.
Yeah.
They moved on,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
The relationships, and also what's been real passion of mine lately is creating relational spaces. For people to come together, another play on words with community, right? Coming together in unity, unifying forces and passions and whatever, the value or the shared interest might be, and really start cultivating that more, the relationships, the relational spaces. I mean, there's been lots of instances and, major viruses that have brought us back home and reevaluating so much of our lives and restructuring the whole way that we live it, how we live and work and how we're in relationship with each other and other ways of being able to communicate with each other. I mean, how amazing is that we can connect globally now, online, forget about time and space altogether, right? Which they've been saying for years doesn't actually exist anyway. I talk to people on the other end of the world. It's the next day. It's a whole different season. It's a whole different time, but we're here connecting in this moment of now, right? This present moment.
We can talk to people from the future.
Exactly. And they get to talk to people from the past. But that's just it, Eddie. Like transforming your future, right? The whole name of the show. Mm-hmm. And that's every moment is an entry point into that future. And transformation is really about transcending form, transcending the way things were before and who we thought we were, who we thought we needed to be, and who we actually were. It's transcending all that. It's moving beyond that and evolving and creating this dynamic of what else is possible and learning so much more about everything, including ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. So I appreciate you spending your time with me. I'm so grateful. What other things do you want to talk about before we wrap up?
But thanks. I just really, really, really want people to know that you are meant for this world. Took me years to understand that I was born late in life. I was a mistake, actually. My mom, mom had me late in life, thought she was going through menopause, realized 6 months into it that it was me, hoped for a boy because she already had 3 grown girls and I wasn't. So I used to joke we never got along since, but it took me a long time to understand, well, why am I here? I just felt like a burden, that I had something to make up for. I was a mistake, all of those things. And then when I finally learned that I wasn't born to fit in, I was born to stand out, and that I was meant for this world, and just really gathered more courage to start living my life for me and what I can do to serve others. It became life-changing. And so that's what I want to pass on to people, is that you are meant for this world. And I encourage you to find out why and who you can be through this human life and how you can serve others through it as well.
So how can people find out more about what you're doing and learn more about you? What was the name of the blog again? It was the
Inspired Living blog.
Inspired Living blog, yeah.
And you can find that on my website, along with other ways to connect with me. I have a podcast on YouTube as well called Awaken and Ascend. Amazing transformational experts from around the world are there every week. So you'll find me there talking to them. But if you just want to, peruse things, different services in the blog and other ways to connect, it could be at my website, lightingthepath.ca.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You have a great day.
Thank you so much. And all of you that have been tuning in as well.
I was telling you about facing resistance sometimes and feeling like I'm not sure if I'm going in the right direction. And we were talking about that. I know you had some other thoughts about that.
Yeah, you're right. It's the law of physics, really, Eddie, that when we're gaining momentum, there's going to be resistance. There's a little bit of pushback, and then we can get really in our head about that, about what it all means, if we're doing the right thing, and it felt so right, but why is this happening, and get into this whole pity party too, right? But It's actually showing us that we are gaining momentum, that we are on the right path. It is the law of physics. Momentum creates resistance, The only thing to be aware of is that if you come to a complete stop, a complete halt, or you're feeling really contracted, then you're not, maybe you need some course correction. It's not the right people that you need to be connecting with, even though they seem good on paper. Really trust your intuition and your instincts about things. Really feel into it. Is this true for you? Is this the right place that you need to be going? And don't get caught up in thinking, well, I got referred by so-and-so to be at this job, or it's with this person, or they look so amazing, so maybe it's just me. No, really trust your intuition and your instinct about people, places, and things always. If it's become to a halt, or that you're feeling contracted, then, maybe adjust. But if it's just, simple resistance, a little bit of pushback, then you're gaining the momentum. You know it's right. Like you feel that. You know you're on the right path. And you just can't understand why this is happening. It's actually a good thing. It means you're on the right path.
I believe also that anything worth doing, is not going to be something easy, because if it was easy, everybody would attain it, right? There's going to be some challenges along the way. Sometimes, I think probably you're right that it's about fear again, and it's getting to the fog again, I think, where you start thinking, or I start thinking, maybe the reason I'm pushing and I'm getting this resistance, I'm not getting where I want to be, it's not moving fast enough, whatever. There's steps I have to take, and I have to jump through a hoop. And maybe it's a little fear like, well, okay, does that mean I'm not going to get there? Am I getting caught up in those thinkings that I'm just afraid this means I'm not going to reach it now? And maybe that's really what it's more about.
Yeah, sometimes we want to be like, have it now. We want to get there now, and we don't have enough faith or trust in the process and the direction that we're taking. We might have our GPS set to get somewhere like a destination. It's like, oh, this is taking forever. When are we going to get there, right? But you're on the right path. It just feels like it's taking so long. Yeah. And it's like, you don't start going the right way. You don't question that, right? When it comes to something like that. But we do that to ourselves all the time. Start questioning it. Once you set your deep GPS, your intention, your purpose, your desire, your focus, follow through, give it the time it takes to get there, to reach your destination.
Jen, I'm learning so much from you, and I want to say I was going to make a statement, but now I've backed up. I've thought about it for a second before I open my mouth, and I'm going to say I would love to practice more patience in my life.
There we go. Okay.
See, I'm learning.
Yeah. I'm ready to wait for this. Yeah, I'm ready for it to come to me. Those are great statements. It creates an opening and a receptivity to it. And it builds our capacity for moving into the space that we're expanding into, that we're trying to create. It takes time for things to blossom. We learn that from the flowers and the plants. It takes time. And it can only be what it is meant to be, right? What that seed is, like a rose is never going to be a carnation, right? Like what goes in is going to come out in that way. Right, it's all already programmed for that.
I'm not going to wake up in the morning and stick my foot off the bed and it's going to float, right? I'm not going to float, I'm not going to be 7 feet tall and playing in the NBA. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, maybe not.
So I know we spoke about money before, and I'm just, maybe we should just kind of broach this, because sometimes I find when I talk about spirituality, it seems like the idea of spirituality is not conducive with capitalism and materialism and things like that. Yeah. But the idea always comes up of, you have to support yourself. You have responsibilities you have to take care of, right? There's things. So how does money and the idea of money and making money to survive and live and, do the things that you want to do, how does that kind of tie back into my truth?
Yeah.
There's choices that have to be made about that.
Absolutely. The choices are there, and we always have a choice. And it's always about, is it coming through passion and creativity and the truth of who you are, or is it coming from that fear, obligation, and guilt, right? Mm-hmm. So always assessing that and feeling into that. And when we're talking about money through a spiritual perspective, it's really energy. It's an exchange, right? And so looking for that fair exchange, looking at how you're viewing money, your perception of it, and what your relationship is with money. Do you resist it? Do you judge it? Do you judge others who have it or don't have it? Really look at, really look at what you want from FOMO. It. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Really look at what you want from the money, for people to be able to live their life and feel fulfilled, have the money to be able to do the things that they love and to be able to share generously to be able to have that energy exchange is really important. It creates the flow, it goes in and it goes out. Prosperity consciousness teaches us that if we invest in ourselves and in our spiritual nature, divine nature, that it comes back to us tenfold. And there's tithing, and there's all these different principles that can come into play. And there's also all these ideas that you got to work really hard for the money, and use the words make money. Yeah. Okay. So how do we create money? How do we earn money? How do we generate income? And income can come in so many different forms. Abundance can come in so many different forms. It's like, we fill ourselves up to be able to live the life we want, not always out of dollars and cents. It can come from, a work exchange. It can come from sacred economics, like what is that energy exchange? In Canada, we used to think of ROE as the record of employment. But I heard someone from the US talk about an ROE as our return of energy. I'm like, oh, that's a whole different way of thinking about that. It's like, what is your return of energy? Is it something that's draining you, or is it something that's fueling you? And when you're doing things that really fuel you, you're going to feel that. Like money is going to be incoming. It's going to be, and not just money, but I mean like all the things you need. Like you might have like all expenses paid, vacation, or be able to go speak somewhere, or to be able to live somewhere and have all of your food and accommodations taken care of in exchange for some help that they might need, like being in the bartering system. There's a lot
bartering for 20 years.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Or some people like go through phases where they work really hard, earn a bunch of money, live off that for a while, and then come back and get some more, and we cycle through that, again, it's that dynamic life that we're creating, that evolution, and the give and the receive. And there's a big difference too between taking and receiving, and then people look down on like takers and people who feel entitled to certain things, and then there's those who receive it because they're open. That's why they have everything they want, and it seems easy for them. It's that openness, the receptivity, the willingness to accept it, the being in the place of love. Remember, it's the being that prompts the doing that gives you the having. So it's first and foremost who you're being, then what you're doing, and then what that gives you from all the doing, right? How you're using that time and energy. And money is also part of that energy.
It's awesome. Excellent.